No, I like the view from here. I can see the faces Mike's making.
Yeah.
Wait, this might be a conflict. We have our councilwoman, our legal counsel. Sorry.
I'll give you a ruling on that. You're out of order. I'm appointing him temporary solicitor. Because I'm not under contract, I can't charge.
Hey.
So if you're not close to them, people have a hard time hearing. And can you guys hear me in the audience? Yeah, okay, I was making sure because usually I can hear myself really good. I don't really hear. Okay. All right, so at this time, I'd like to open our December 21st council meeting. Please rise for the flag salute. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And please remain standing while our Deputy Mayor, Karen View, leads us in prayer.
Heavenly Father, may you bless us with the spirit of the season, which is peace, the gladness of the season, which is hope, and the heart of the season, which is love. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Please be seated. Lynn, can you read the Open Public Meetings Act announcement?
This is to advise the meeting notices covering this meeting have been set and posted as required under the Open Public Meetings Act.
All right, perfect. We do have a need for executive session tonight, but we're going to hold on to that. Our city solicitor is stuck in traffic, running a little late. He needs to be present for that. So when he gets here, we're going to executive. All right, so we have our approval of our December 7th, 2022 council meeting and executive session minutes. We have a motion and second.
I'll make that motion. Second.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, can we have roll call?
View, abstain. Lettieri? Haney?
Yes.
DeLucre? Kane?
Yes.
Reardon? Mayor Sarah?
Yes.
Motion carried.
We have our approval of requisition list, operating expenses, and payroll. We have a motion and second.
So moved.
Second.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, can we have roll call?
View,
Yes.
Haney?
Yes.
DeLucre?
Yes.
Kane?
Yes.
Reardon?
Yes.
Mayor Sarah?
Yes.
Motion carried.
This time we'll open the meeting up. This is for public comment on agenda items only. Yes, Mrs. Phillips.
Annie's Phelps, 308 27th Street. Number 9, no, excuse me, number 10. Is the Army Corps of Engineers involved?
Yes.
Because it doesn't say, and it says by and for, so
I didn't hear. I'm sorry.
it says by and for the city of Brigantine appropriating all the money, and I just wondered if part of that money is coming from the Army Corps.
Yeah, it's federal, state. It's a federal, state, and local money.
Okay, that's
Yeah,
our
so
share.
this is just for Brigantine's portion.
The other one concerns number 12 and the wording. Amending. Actually, it's increasing. And it might be clearer to the public if that word were used. But residential use says, because I went through and compared my last year's bill, and it is an increase. So you are attempting to clarify the ordinance, and in that sense, you won't know until you get your bill. So I just, when you say amend, maybe some it may be, but main part for residents, it's going to be an increase.
Thank you, Mrs. Phillips. All right, seeing no other public comment, we're going to close the public portion. All right, we have ordinance number 19 of 2022, and this is a public hearing and adoption. And this is a bond ordinance providing for Phase 2 of the Lighthouse District Streetscaping Improvement Project in and by the city of Brigantine and the county of Atlantic, New Jersey, appropriating $328,410 proceeds of obligations not needed for the original purpose, and an additional $200,000 thereof, and authorizing the issuance of $190,000 in bonds or notes of the city to finance part of the cost thereof. We have a motion second.
So moved. Second.
All right, this time we're going to open it up to a public hearing. Anybody wishing to be heard on this ordinance, please come up, state your name and address for the record. Seeing no public participation, we're going to close the public portion. Are there any council comments?
Mayor, I'd just like to say it's nice to see Phase 2 moving along. Phase 2 of the Lighthouse District Streetscape Improvement Project moving along essentially right on schedule. Phase 1 came out very nice, and Phase 2 will be there along those same lines. Thank you.
No, perfect. All right, seeing no other council comment, can we have roll call?
You?
Yes.
Haney?
Yes.
Dillipre?
Yes.
Kane?
Yes.
Reardon? Mayor Sarah?
Yes.
Motion carried.
All right, we have ordinance number 20 of 2022, and this is a public hearing and adoption. And this is a bond ordinance providing for the North End Beach replenishment in and by the city of Brigantine in the county of Atlantic, New Jersey, appropriating $983,000, therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $933,850 in bonds or notes of the city of Brigantine to finance part of the cost thereof. We have a motion second.
Second.
At this time, we're going to open it up to the public for a public hearing. Anybody wishing to be heard on this issue, please come up, state your name and address for the record. Seeing no public participation, we're going to close the public portion. Are there any council comments?
I'd just like to say something. See this coming forward this year, doesn't need it. But all that being said, I believe there's a bigger concern at the very end of the seawall there. I know residents there, the last few houses there at the seawall, very, very concerned that we might not make it until management is done and or nighttime might finish. So
Yeah, I can tell you, we've taken that concern very seriously. We've reached out to Congressman Van Drew and the Army Corps about potentially extending the seawall. I think at the time the seawall was actually built, there were no homes. Past that point, homes have actually gone beyond that. We were actually turned down by the Army Corps for funding but one of the things they did say is that we should apply again in the next funding cycle. And we might have better luck at that time. So that is something we're working on. It's also part of the reason why we asked the Army Corps to come in as soon as possible rather than waiting to the fall. So we are addressing it as quick as we can. One of the things I want to add too, for the beach replenishment, we recently had a meeting with the Army Corps and the New Jersey DEP to talk about the project. One of the things that they've noticed with other beach replenishment projects, as probably as a result of the high rate of inflation, a lot of bids are coming in higher than expected. So one of the things that they've asked us to do is to work with Congressman Van Drew and to request more federal funding towards this project. I've had conversations with Congressman Van Drew's office about this. We've sent them some of the notes and information from the meeting that we're at, and I know that our city manager, Jim Bennett, is working on a letter to the congressman to make this request. In my conversations with his office, one of the things they let me know is that there's an infrastructure bill that the congressman is working on along with the rest of Congress. If and when that infrastructure bill gets passed, there will be more money for beach replenishment projects. And at that time, the congressman is going to sit down and work with the Army Corps of Engineers on his priority lists for South Jersey. And he said that Brigantine will be, our project here will be one of those top priorities. And he will do what he can to get more funding for us. So we wanted to make sure that we were proactive and tried to seek out that money before the bids actually went out, to try to make sure that we can maximize what we gain from this beach replenishment. For us here in Brigantine, I know it works that there's a proportion between the federal government, the state government, and local governments. If the federal funding increases, and they weren't clear on this, would the state and would the local government be required to increase our match? That answer is not clear. I don't know how the funding structure is going to work, but one of the things I would say as a city we should be prepared for is that is the normal path. And if they increase their funding, we may need to increase ours as well. So that's something, I guess, for our CFO here to be aware of as well. So we just had those conversations this week. I'm going to follow up with Congressman Van Drew's office again in January. They said to keep an eye on the infrastructure bill. If and when that passes, that's when they want me to follow up again to make sure that we do everything we can to get that extra fund.
It's another reason why you've also talked about the finger jetties too, trying to get those eventually built down there, built up.
Yeah, and we've seen a lot of success in Brigantine with the jetties that we've had, and actually on some of our southern beaches where the jetties exist, the sand stays in place a lot better. We talked about this with the Army Corps. The Army Corps said that they're looking into this in other municipalities. They want to test this and see how it works there before they commit to any funding here. And that is typically what they do. They look at projects in other areas, use them as models, and then try to copy or replicate that if they're success. So we've had those conversations, and that's something we're looking at into as well. So hopefully that's something we can do in the future. Any other council comments? All right, seeing none, can we have roll call?
You,
Yes.
Lettieri,
Yes.
Haney,
Yes.
Salukri, Kane,
Yes.
Reardon,
Yes.
Mayor Sarah,
Yes.
motion carried.
All right, so we have ordinance number 21 of 2022. And this is an adoption and amending our water and sewer rates. And this is a public hearing and adoption. We have a motion and second.
I'll make that motion.
All right, at this time, we'll open up the public hearing. Anybody wishing to be heard on this ordinance, please come up, state your name and address for the record. Seeing no public participation at this time, we're going to close the public portion. Are there any council comments?
Just one question. Maybe address it later. What is the difference currently rate for residential? Yeah.
It's also to help with that upcoming things that the state passed, saying trying to soften the blow for that all that language.
Yeah, and that's something I was going to bring up too. The increase in the water rates that we're seeing right now, and this is in direct response to the new state mandate that all municipalities in the state of New Jersey need to replace lead water lines. In that new mandate, they've designated galvanized steel pipes as a potential lead hazard and are requiring all municipalities in the state of New Jersey to replace those lines. So this is part of what we're doing to kind of move that forward. We have in all municipalities, all municipalities have 10 years to complete this. We're starting on that. I will tell you the cost to Brigantine, the estimated cost is somewhere between 50 and 60 million. One of the challenges that we face is the state gave this mandate but provided very little money to support the mandate. Some of the bigger cities have astronomical numbers that I don't know how they're ever going to meet. So I think this is something that the state is working on now. And this is something I want to remind people. This is a state of New Jersey thing. This isn't a city of Brigantine thing. We are required by the state to do this, and we will be in compliance with what the state asks. One of the things, though, that people have asked about is obviously the city is going to replace the water lines and everything that's in the streets. But once it goes from the curb to the home, those lines need to be replaced too, and that is being mandated by the state. The city of Brigantine is going to give residents, if they would like to replace the lines on their own, the opportunity to do that, and there is a process for that. If they are unable to do that, the city will be required to come in and do that, and the city will have to recoup that money based on a special assessment. Some of the questions that we've received back from members of the community is how that special assessment works. I think some people are concerned that they're going to be charged all at once for the cost of that replacement. And I think this is something that we probably need to put together. I know that our superintendent of public works and city manager did a great job with the Brigantine Times last week, kind of explaining the mandate and what's happening. But I think the next question people have is, how does the special assessment work? Do they have to pay it all at once? Can they pay it over time? And that's something that I would like you guys, again, with Al, to work with. What is that policy going to be? Do people have time to pay it out? How does it work? So we can get that clearly out to the residents so they understand.
It's going to depend on the size of the property too, correct?
Yeah, so
The
that's
distance from the street to the actual residences, some might be a little more expensive, or a little bit cheaper. Correct. That's why it's all going to be, it's going to depend on the residence itself.
and it will too, and the costs are going to vary per residence depending on those factors. And it's not that we're going to lay out the specific cost. I think what we need to lay out is how the special assessment works, how much time people have to pay it back, how they pay it, or taxes, or sewer. So this way people understand. Right. I think the concern too is, especially with a lot of our seniors who might be on fixed incomes, I think what was quoted, the numbers that were quoted in the Times, I think scared them. They would have to come up with all of that money at once. I think if they had the option to pay it off over time and they knew how much time they had, it might try to ease some of those frustrations. And I think that's what we need, maybe as we get that ordinance together, to clearly articulate. So I guess we would maybe need some recommendations up front about a reasonable amount of time, what those estimated costs could kind of look like for the average homeowner to make sure that what we do is reasonable for people to pay.
Also, I mean, we're talking about something, once communities and cities realize what's involved here in state mandating this, that the state is gonna have to come up with some kind of funding. And like you're saying, so we're talking about something that could possibly be 5 years in the future before we see any kind of, when we introduce an ordinance to special assessment.
Like you said, also.
Yeah.
And they would give people an opportunity to sell their house.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
That wouldn't probably, I would assume there's, not every home is involved. Any of the new homes will have the proper work. Back in 15, when I raised my home, and it was built in 1952, I dug up a copper core, service line from 1952. So people may be getting upset when in fact their water lines are not galvanized and they are already copper. So that should be checked out too before anybody gets too nervous.
I believe Public Works is actually, is it a part of the, what do you call it, the water meter transition over that we're doing, that you're testing the lines?
We're gonna be testing the lines, but as the councilman said, we have to verify every home on the outside of the meter and the street side. So it has, we have to dig up and verify.
Yeah.
We're working with the engineer.
And then you'll keep a record of that so the homeowner will be able to check that list and know whether or not they,
We
unless
started the list a couple months ago because as we find lead beds, as we find lead, we replace it. So a few months ago, we started keeping the list, so we know what we're doing. And we'll do the same thing. Verification of the homeowners.
but the people should know that if you did raise your house, you probably have a copper water line because it was included. It was, or plastic, or they, because you were forced to do it at that time. And anybody that has a brand new house, it's already been done.
Or built after 1986, right?
87. I think that's kind of a gauge we've been looking at. Homes post 1987 should be good, and any homes that were raised should be good. But our Public Works Department will be testing. Now we're going to create a list, but we then go back and notify homeowners as we phase in the project. Like, how will they specifically know?
Yeah, wow. Was after we verify whether you have it or you don't, and then it's depending on the zone that you're in.
Yeah.
Doing zone 1 through 10. So we'll just use this area as probably zone 1. We'll notify residents that we know they have a potential problem. Then we have to get a right of entry, and that'll start the communication process. If the homeowner's going to do it.
Okay, perfect.
Just one
small but important note that all of us here at council and our administrative personnel are aware of. Our water, our drinking water quality and report is excellent. Right, John? Um, There's nothing really to be worried or concerned about. However, like obviously this is a mandate coming down from Trenton, from the governor's office, and we have to work through it. But our water is tested regularly, and it has an excellent grade. So there's nothing to be concerned of as far as that goes. And just maybe one other thing, this is just from a layman's perspective. If anyone was really concerned about uh, lead or anything of that nature, I know they do have certain water filters you can get, for like a carbon filter based. I'm no expert on it whatsoever. I'm just saying if someone really was concerned about that, they could always look into that. And I just bring up these comments because I know if anyone's out there in our viewing audience and they see what we're talking about, just so they are aware of basically the quality of our drink. Thank you.
Will there be a cost comparison made public as to whether, if you were to get the private contractor to do it or let the city do it?
Yeah, I don't think there's a cost comparison. I would tell you, based on my understanding, if the homeowner had someone privately do it, they could probably get a better rate because anytime the city does work, we have to pay what's called prevailing wages, and prevailing wages tend to make things cost about 2 to 3 times more than if a private homeowner did it. And that's why, even though the state law mandates the city does it, we are giving homeowners the opportunity to do it because they may be able to do it much cheaper. And in the end, I think the law just requires that it be completed, whether it's by the homeowner or by the city. So that's why we're giving people that opportunity. There is a process if people want to take that opportunity. I think they need a licensed plumber to come in to change those lines over. I believe one of our city inspectors has to come down and inspect it to see that it was actually changed. And then I believe we need a letter from that licensed plumber stating that it was changed over and it was inspected by the city, so we have it for our records. And then,
I think if that is made, that information is made
and that's I think a big part of the discussion is because this is new. I think people have a lot of questions, and we need to make sure that we can do what we can to communicate out. I guess what we know.
We've been answering a lot of questions in both parts. We've told the 266-7800 extension 15, leave a message, and we will call them back with answer.
Perfect.
As Councilman said about the quality of our water, our consumer confidence report is listed on the website. State mandates that we will use. And if you want to have water tested separately, data or service and limits 15 billion parts, 15 parts per billion, and all of ours.
Any other questions? All right, seeing none, can we have roll call?
You? Yes. Lettieri?
Yes.
Haney?
Yes.
DeLucre? Yes. Kane?
Yes.
Reardon?
Yes.
Mayor Sarah?
Yes.
Motion carried.
We have ordinance number 22 of 2022, and this is a public hearing and adoption. And this is an ordinance amending chapter 210-37, article 2 of the code of the city of Brigantine as it relates to fees. Can we have a motion and second?
Second.
So I guess my question here is, have all the fees in here been reviewed? They're all correct?
Yes, Mayor. Both the above.
Okay. No, perfect. And I personally think it was good to try to clean up that ordinance so people just have one place to look. And I think going forward, it puts us in a better position when we're amending things. We're just amending one ordinance instead of multitude. Go ahead. I think. Any questions or comments from council? So I apologize. Did we open it up for the public hearing? All right. At this time, we'd like to open it up for a public hearing. Anybody wishing to be heard on this issue, please come forward, state your name and address for the record. Seeing no public participation, we're going to close the public hearing. Any final council comments? Seeing none, can we have roll call?
View. Yes. Lettieri?
Yes.
Haney?
Yes.
DeLucre? Kane?
Yes.
Reardon?
Yes.
Mayor Sarah?
Yes.
Motion carried.
All right, we have ordinance number 23 of 2022, and this is a public hearing and adoption. And this is an ordinance of the city of Brigantine, county of Atlantic, state of New Jersey, mandating the replacement of lead service lines. We have a motion and second.
Second.
All right, at this time, we'll open up for a public hearing. Anybody wishing to be heard on this issue, please come forward and state your name and address for the record. Seeing no public participation, we're going to close the public portion. Any council comments?
Yeah, I had a couple of questions. Again, this may have covered in the last meeting. So I apologize for going back over that. Just trying to get a handle on the sequence of events that this is supposed to happen. So initially, it was like Public Works is doing already inventory to determine where the town do have lead service lines, whether public property or private property. Ballpark, what do you think is the timetable?
We're just starting the process. We're doing zone one now. We're in the talk right now, whether we're going to do it in-house, or have to hire an outside agency.
So, be some lag time for a person has to learn that or and I may be misreading it, but it looks like we're keying action on property owners specific adoption and giving them in case of section 4 the lead service line has to be completed replacement has to be completed within 20 days of the effective date of ordinance. Seems unrealistic. We're trying a couple of years, probably. Okay, then maybe 10 because I'm not opposed to applying for grants, but okay, but we adopt this, then you're saying that if you have a lead pipe, you have 120 days to replace it. And we could change the language to provide that you have 120 days from the identification. It's good to know where it came from, but it's telling you how to read it. And if I'm reading it wrong, somebody tell me. Right now, that says we adopt this, that starts your 120-day clock, which of course is unrealistic practically in terms of grant. Another provision.
May I add something? Just you talk about section 4. I mean, I also look at the next sentence. It says an extension of the timeline may be granted. The owner can demonstrate to the city, to the Brigantine's designee, that a good faith effort has been made to comply with the ordinance. I think if we're in the process of applying for that funding, would that give us the ability to extend the timeline? Because obviously part of that good faith effort is we're trying to find the money and they need the money if it's available. Would that qualify? Okay.
Back for way to Section 6, we're saying that on sale or transfer of ownership, the owner must provide proof line is placed or that the owner has both right as filed, right to perform enrolling lead service replacement program. So if we're 60 days out, somebody wants to sell property, what happens? They not yet choose not to enroll in the program. This may not have probably made any investigation. Same time to them determine what you have like service giving them really no options other than proof that it has been replaced, which means the property owner would have to through an investigation, spend money, make determination. I'm not sure what criteria, but for them to be able to make that determination and have the state money and then accept it. But it seems like they would be obliged to do at least that. And in fact, there was a like serving property. You have only the options of replacing it, jobs there, or sale, or enroll in a program, which yeah, the cost of the program or network of the program are expected evaluation for balance. Substantially expensive would. Is there a way to give exemption or to allow buyer to properly transfer change or programs up running to assume responsibility for whatever the owner's obligation is achieved from time to time. I think that's probably a question best answered by here. Comment on that.
Thanks, Jim. What I say, Rick, is that there will have to be buyer and seller stipulating, buyer or seller.
Oh, yeah, that's absolutely true. But that's only half the picture. The other half is, would we, the ordinance that's now written to address, as a city, we accept that obligation, otherwise we absolute obligation as a time to adopt the ordinance. And worded like applies to 20 days to do something. Can we do it? In this ordinance, that the parties of the transaction agree to pass along a responsibility. Whenever that happens, like 60 days, for example, realistically, a couple of years, so just transferring properties may not be known. So, I'm totally in favor of letting parties negotiate. Yes, we need the city to acknowledge that that happens. We would have to accept the points of the ordinance. Yes.
That's true. But as Cedar Falls said, state road is mandated by the state. So, of course, it's timeline and all that. And down and force the actual application. I think we know how much funding we're getting. So this will be in place, and it does say, you have a good point, it does say 120 days and 180 days from the effective date of this ordinance, so I really didn't think it came. Right, well, I have place, if I sell the property, service.
Just
Should also
clear,
be
it
that, you know,
doesn't say that. It says 120 days. Ordinance. If we said that it's 120 days after the determination of whether or not you need to replace your roof, that's a different thing. That's perfectly fine.
So I think if I could add it, I think Rick makes a very good point. And I think the challenge is that we're trying to defend what the state did. The hard part about this is the state passed this mandate, this pipe mandate, and never thought it through. It is having, like a lot of municipalities, as I talk with other elected officials in other towns, there are a lot of challenges to this that most municipalities are struggling with. Here's the catch. In order for us to qualify for funding and to get funding for people, we have to pass this ordinance as is. And that's the problem. The state doesn't give us options. If we don't pass what they require, we are not eligible to ask for the funding. Now, the problem is Rick brings up some good points. It says there's timelines in here that are unreasonable. So what do we do? So if we don't pass it as is and we don't get the funding, then the citizens and taxpayers of Brigantine pay the brunt of this. If we pass this, we then have to figure out how to deal with some of these issues that are in here, which may be impossible for Brigantine to deal with. Like some of the points, Rick, that you bring up, we may have no knowledge of homes that are sold that do not come in compliance with this. And that is the challenge. I will tell you, I don't know what the right answer is. My heart tells me we need to do all we can to cut the cost of this project. And that is kind of the goal of this ordinance. But if people feel that what we're doing is unreasonable, then obviously you either vote for it or vote against it. You got to vote your conscience, and that's why there's 7 of us up here. You know, so I don't know that it is our right, our responsibility to defend the state of New Jersey. And I put this squarely on the governor and squarely on the legislature. They pushed this forward and should have consulted with the municipalities before they did it.
they didn't.
Or they should have made the funding available before they passed it. You know, there was a point in time when things went forward, it was a state mandate, state pay. The state has moved away from that, and that is the problem. You know, and that is the challenge. So what we have before us is this. We have an ordinance that was given to us by the state of New Jersey that says, you want money, you pass this ordinance. So we either pass it or we don't. But I don't think that we should argue with each other because there's no benefit.
We can't change the wording because it's the state that gave us the ordinance, correct?
So, I mean, I agree 100%, Mayor. I don't know if there's a big rush that we have to get this passed very soon. I don't think they're sending us funding or grants in the next 6 months.
So I would say it's the money dries up quick. If you don't get mine for that money quick, if you wait too long, money might not be there.
What I was gonna use, is there a possibility to write up a regular, separate city ordinance stating that the state ordinance will take effect when we can certain issues, things like, CFO stated.
Correct.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we can apply, we're gonna be applying for this grant immediately.
Yeah.
We can apply for the grant, but we don't have to enforce the 120 days. That's on us.
I believe it is expected by the state of New Jersey.
Or us to
follow their
enforce it.
rules. What I look at is 2 things. So here's what I look at. One, it talks about a good faith effort. I think that gives the city some discretion to determine what good faith effort is. I think 2, when it comes down to section 6, like Rick brought up, part of this should be covered by home inspectors. When there's a home inspection of a property, they're supposed to make sure that the things that are inspected are in compliance with laws. In one instance, it says the lead service line either has been replaced or they've completed a right of entry for the city. So if they complete the right of entry, then they would be in compliance of this. All it does is grant the city the ability to come in. And I think those two things are easily remedied as long as the state inspectors or the home inspectors obviously are up to date on the laws and do their job as inspectors. And that we are willing, if they're not in a zone that's being fixed right away or being addressed right away, if they do the right of entry form, which means they give us the ability to come in. Now, even if they give us the right of entry, if the homeowner decides to replace it, we no longer need to come in. I think these are things that we can work out, but I understand what the state's position is, and I only bring this up. We deal a lot with the state of New Jersey and funding, and we deal a lot with ordinances. If you do not pass resolutions and ordinances word for word the way they want them, the state rejects them. I've had multiple meetings with state agencies because we've had ordinances that we do not agree with. We've passed variations with them, and they have sent them back to us. So that's why I'm saying, so we need to start to think about, one, what is the bigger picture? What is the wiggle room that is provided within the framework that's here, and how both the city and the homeowners can make a good faith effort to make this work. I think that's what all of us are trying to get at. Like, we're all on the same side here. That's what we're trying to get at. And that's why I said it's vote your conscience. How you feel, vote. And that's
I
what we
think
do.
the good faith effort is the testing and notifying the residents. That to me is a good faith effort. Later on, they're going to have to give us some time to figure out how much it's going to cost for which property. So the homeowner can say, all right, my lines need to be replaced. How much is that going to cost me? When does it have to be done? And is there some type of payment plan so I don't get crushed in these tough times? So I think that once they get that information, and as long as we're relaying that information, that contributes to the good faith effort. Cool. I hope that will be enough.
And let me ask
Show
you,
the state that we're working. It's a work in progress. We're working on it. You can't expect these people, you came up with this plan. You didn't ask the municipalities. You didn't give us any money for it. And you're expecting everybody to do this, especially in these difficulties. Now all of a sudden, you want these people to pay for it right away. But if we could show a good faith effort that it's going to take time, test, it's going to take time to let these folks know what it's going to cost them, and is there a payment, and who's going to be doing it. I don't know if the city's going to do the whole thing or if we're going to have to contract it out. It's an awful lot of work. And as long as we're showing that we're making these steps, I think that's a good faith effort. And not putting people's hands to the fire, in 120 days. But that's me.
Yeah, thank you. And Mayor, I was just gonna add that, the mayor, the governor's office, when he came out with this mandate, 10 years up the road, let's get everything completed. We're in the very, very beginning stages of this, obviously, still laying everything out and just trying to, this, and along with the points that, our CFO just brought up, just trying to get this passed to kind of, we'll get the ball rolling, so to speak. But we don't want to be putting the cart before the horse here. I don't know, Mike, as far as the Atlantic County Board of Realtors, if it ever became some issue, there's disclosures that they could just agree to if that just became some hang up point on a real estate deal, and someone said they weren't going to do it, one party or the other didn't want to agree to it, so be it, you know what I mean? But I think we have to take care of what we need to do here this evening. And regarding what Vince was saying, just to get moved with this.
I think the responsibility for this is to run. It's not like they're going to find the best road because you don't have
I agree.
to replace it.
Sure, I agree.
and I think that
I
is
agree.
what you guys are bringing up. I think that is Rick's point. I think you guys realize that is the point he's making.
We don't want to get too,
Right.
we don't
I
want to get
think,
ahead of ourselves with this.
yeah, So I guess I would ask this. Our CFO had made a statement that the 120 days would start, I guess, upon notification of the homeowner, roughly. Yeah. And would that, I guess, based on your understanding, we're planning on obviously doing this in phases. So as we go through each phase, notify the homeowner, would that then trigger their time to start? Because reasonably, how could you make a good faith effort? And maybe this is a better question for Fred. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, how could you make a good faith effort to repair something if you haven't been noticed that it needs to be repaired? So part of this, to bring you up to speed, Fred, we're going to phase this in over time. There's going to be a number of zones that we do, so this way we can move through the city. Is it reasonable that a homeowner would need to be notified when we start the project to start their time, or would it start today with them having no notice? Please. Totally makes sense. I guess, is that an approach that council would like to take? Form a subcommittee to figure out, I guess, how the city makes this work, summarize.
Yeah, that's, I'm sorry. I was gonna say, let's, if we have to, guess what we have to do tonight? Apply for grants. Then we'll work out how we're gonna do it our own way.
The issue, as I said, about our agreements themselves, that's not what's going on here. I'm not worried at all about what council will do or might do, but the building office or public works for us, they're not gonna do anything for people and positions, but third party, the state. And product that they've given us, they've said you have to adopt is usually like legal term, half-assed. But if we're stuck with it, it sounds like we are. We have something which, on its face, makes no sense at all in terms of timelines and provisions having there when the program probably a 10-year old. So with that, Fred's idea, so him, and there's provisions that we need to come up with in terms of our procedures, dealing with it, or allowing people to identify if they may have an issue in accordance with our rollout inspections. Provisions to allow transfer of power, as long as there's an acceptable assignment responsibility to, and reasonable timetables people to act once they know their actions. Yeah, I volunteer.
Are there any other council members who would like to volunteer to be on that committee?
Want to wait and see if we actually, in some sense, need that.
I think probably the best path would be to form the committee and start thinking about how. I don't know. I'm not big on kicking the can down the road. I think if there's an issue, obviously we have some. It's our responsibility to try to address those concerns. So I know Councilman Bria has asked to be on that committee. Are there any other council members?
Yeah,
All right, so we have Neil, Mike, and Rick. You guys can work together to make some recommendations to council. Do we need any of our professionals? Anybody you suggest that should be a part of that? I asked the city manager. Neil.
They should, at least the committee, if they don't have professionals, should be in contact with the professionals before they come up with any recommendations. So they're aware of what we have going on already and what the process. As long as they keep in contact with myself, John, Matt, with Al, they'll be fine. Step.
Yeah, I was going to say, and if you could just make sure that I guess whatever recommendations come from the committee, that you can bounce off of them so they can communicate with you and then with the professionals so that whatever ideas come forward to council actually makes sense for what the city is either doing or able to do.
Absolutely.
All right, perfect. Okay. All right, go ahead, Karen.
I just wanted to say there's the last line, last sentence in section 4, an extension of time may be granted. Because it's totally unreasonable to expect the entire island to be done. One person, city workers to be able to do it, so it's totally unreasonable. So, it sounds like it is.
Yeah.
I have a question. But if the city's water lines are still galvanized, what is the point of changing?
We have to replace them all.
We have to
That's
do
what I'm
ours.
saying.
We have to do ours as well.
I understand that, but if you're forcing the homeowner to do it within a certain time, how could you possibly do the entire city? To bring it up to snuff,
So
it would take years to do it.
that's why the state's giving us 10 years.
Okay, but, yeah, what I'm saying, but yet you're gonna mandate that the person make sure his copper water line is now hooked up to the city's line.
So yeah, so it's in two parts. So typically at the water meter, which is at the curb. So we use the water meter as that kind of break, but if it's from the curb to the street, we replace the natural break is that water meter. So if they replace their line to the water meter, they would be in compliance. As we come through, we would be in compliance with the time the city would all be in compliance. But you're right, they've given us 10 years and given homeowners 20 days. I think that's the inconsistencies that so many people are frustrated with. That's why I think this line in here about extension of time may be granted when the homeowner demonstrates the routine. So I think that's what we have, is how we're able to work. And I think the subcommittee of council makes some good recommendations. So I think everybody's points are very well taken.
City comes in and puts in all these new lines, that's gonna have to rip up the streets.
Yeah.
Pave them all over again. Is that part of that bond? Paving is all
Yeah.
part of that.
So one of the things we're working on, and this actually started with Mayor Simpson. Mayor Simpson wanted to repave every road in Brigantine. That's something we're actually still working on, is repaving our roads. When the state came in with the mandate for the water lines, one of the things we want us to start to look at is to phase it in as we replace the water lines, to actually come back through and repave those streets. It makes no sense to pave a street and then a couple of years later dig it back up. A lot of the paving work that we're doing now, unless it's emergent, is actually on streets that does not have any water infrastructure under it, because we don't want to have to dig those streets back up. So that's something that our capital committee has actually been looking at and working on the projects as we move forward. And that's something we've been looking at too going forward. As we bring in these phases, and a big part of it is we're starting in the A zone, because most of the water infrastructure runs in the alleyways. And that gives us the ability to come in. The alleys are a lot easier to deal with than some streets that we would have to dig up. We also anticipate with a lot of the inconsistencies that have come from the state, that the state will probably make amendments and changes as problems come about. So we want to make sure that we start in areas that have probably the least amount of impact to our residents, but we can still be in compliance and move forward. And that's the tricky part with this. If in a perfect world, we would just go get it done. If we went and got everything done and then money becomes available on the back end, we can't get any of that money back. We have to apply for the money and do the work in compliance with what the state mandates in order to qualify for the money. So we're making sure that we move forward to stay in compliance with state law, but not to get ahead of ourselves and get ahead of the state, because if we get ahead of the state and money does become available, and I'm going to tell you, money's going to have to become available, we might not qualify. And that is the responsibility we have right now. And that's why this is the first step into seeking that and getting in line for that money. And there's not going to be an endless supply of money. You need to get in there, you need to get in early, and to make sure that we do everything in our power to keep costs under control for the taxpayers of Brigantine. If there's no further comments, can we have roll call?
You,
Yes.
Lettieri,
Yes.
Haney,
Yes.
DeLucre,
Yes, I'm in favor of the, as I said, place that service lines. Against that, just she, no, to approach it in a way that is really disjointed at best. No thought out. That said, and reassurance that like we're tomorrow, so.
Kane,
Yes.
Reardon,
Thank you, Greg. Zora, you, like Mayor said, bring forward 3 points about this. For the good of Brigantine people, the city, like this one, and this grandma.
Mayor Sarah,
I'd like to say I appreciate everybody's comments and discussion. That's really what this board is supposed to be about. When there's issues, when there's questions, we discuss them, come up with plans to move forward. I'm very proud of the approach that everyone's taken. So I vote yes.
motion carried.
We have
Can I just,
resolution.
can I just add one thing, Mary? I just have to just look this up. And this is just a total aside to the whole thing, lead pipes. And we were talking about disclosures and stuff. So back in November of 21, New Jersey Realtors Association did add a document. I guess for people that becomes a concern. It's outside our realm. What we're going to be doing, however, maybe sit at a settlement table, maybe take care of everything in that matter. So that's it. Thank you.
No, it's perfect. Thank you. All right, we have resolution 2022-239, and this is a cancellation of outstanding checks. We have a motion and second.
So moved.
Second. Questions or comments? Seeing none, can we have roll call?
You,
Yes.
Lettieri,
Yes.
Haney,
Yes.
DeLucre, Kane,
Yes.
Reardon, Mayor Sarah,
Yes.
motion carried.
We have resolution 2022-240, and this is a transfer of appropriations. Have a motion and second.
Second.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, can we have roll call?
You,
Yes.
Lettieri,
Yes.
Haney,
Yes.
DeLucre, Kane,
Yes.
Reardon,
Yes.
Mayor Sarah,
Yes.
motion carried.
Resolution 2022-241, and this is a final work change order. This is change order number 1. This is for tennis courts, resurfacing and various tennis court improvements, and this is with Think Pavers, Hardscaping LLC, and this is a net decrease of $3,082.80. Again, this is a decrease. Motion second.
So moved.
Second.
Questions or comments?
Being on the recreation board with Karen and I, this is just good to see this moving along. There was a lot of discussion, right, Karen, with all this, with the pickleball courts and tennis courts. So, just a good thing, obviously. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Can we have roll call?
View,
Yes.
Lettieri,
Yes.
Hany,
Yes.
DeLucre, Kane,
Yes.
Reardon, Sarah,
Yes.
motion carried.
We have resolution 22-242, and this is authorizing the execution of a contract with AC Schultes for emergency repair to I can't say Kings Cove lift pump. This is the amount of $23,070. Have a motion second.
So moved.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, can we have roll call?
So moved.
View,
Yes.
Lettieri,
Yes.
Hany,
Yes.
DeLucre,
Yes.
Kane,
Yes.
Reardon, Sarah,
Yes.
motion carried.
We have resolution 2022-243, authorizing the city manager to enter into a shared service agreement with Atlantic County for a truck-mounted attenuators. We have a motion second.
Second.
Is there any cost to the city to be a part of this?
No, Mayor, this was covered by a LEAP grant, former Mayor Frazier.
And this is as needed, the county would allow us to use it?
Correct. We have to do something on Brigantine Boulevard, road, place to call it, county DOT.
All right, perfect. Are there any other council comments, questions or comments? Seeing none, can we have roll call?
View,
Yes.
Lettieri,
Yes.
Hany,
Yes.
DeLucre,
Truck mounted attenuators, far superior to the. Most definitely. Yes.
Kane,
Yes.
Reardon,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
motion carried.
All right, so earlier we had scheduled an executive session, but we needed to wait for our city solicitor to be here. So at this time, I guess I'd like to pause for executive session. I forget, do we do the resolution first, or what do we? Yeah, Lynn, can you read well, let me do this. Jim, what are the topics we need to discuss?
Matters of personnel, Mayor.
Personnel. Lynn, can you read the executive session?
Whereas the Open Public Meetings Act permits the exclusion of the public from a meeting in certain circumstances. And whereas this public body is of the opinion that such circumstances presently exist. And whereas the governing body wishes to discuss matters of personnel, minutes will be kept, and once the matter involving the confidentiality of the above law requires that confidentiality, and the minutes can be made public. Now therefore be it resolved that the public be excluded from this meeting. This resolution shall take effect immediately.
Can we have a motion and second to go to executive session?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, seeing none, we're going to executive session. Thanks.
Go. Guy. Yeah.
So. So let's also, okay.
All right, can we have a motion and second to return from executive
moved.
session?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, seeing none. Fred, can you summarize?
Executive session.
All right, perfect. Thank you. I guess before we get started, 244, 245, and 246 all deal with employment agreements. Have all of these employment agreements been reviewed by Labor Council to make sure that they're in compliance with updated laws?
Yes, Mayor, they have.
All right, thank you. All right, so resolution 2022-244, and this is authorizing the city manager to enter into an employment agreement with Albert Stanley. We have a motion second.
Second.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, can we have roll call?
You,
Yes.
Lettieri,
Yes.
Haney,
Yes.
DeLucre.
Yeah.
Kane,
Yes.
Reardon,
Yes.
Mayor Sarah,
Yes.
motion carried.
Resolution 22-245, and this is authorizing the city manager to enter into an employment agreement with Paul Fuller. We have a motion second.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, can we have roll call?
You,
Yes.
Lettieri,
Yes.
Haney,
Yes.
DeLucre. Kane,
Yes.
Reardon,
Yes.
Mayor Sarah,
Yes.
motion carried.
Resolution 2022-246, and this is authorizing the city manager to enter into an employment agreement with John Doring. We have a motion second.
I'll make that motion.
I think they like Paul better. They all jumped at it. Any,
John's the man.
Is that Paul? Oh, did you second that? I'm sorry.
oh, Mike did.
Mike,
Yeah,
okay,
Mike
thank
said.
you.
All right, any questions or comments? No? John, I'll just say you have to be one of the hardest working people in the city of Brigantine. I know for myself and everyone here was very grateful for all of you personally. Thank you. All right, if there's no other questions, can we have roll call?
You,
Absolutely.
Lettieri,
Yes.
Haney, DeLucre. Kane,
Yes.
Reardon,
Yes.
Mayor Sarah,
Yes.
motion carried.
Resolution 2022-247, and this is amending the City of Brigantine's 2022 year municipal budget by the insertion of a special item of revenue and appropriation from the state of New Jersey. This is for drunk driving enforcement fund, and this is in the amount of $4,450. We have a motion second. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Paul. Questions or comments? Seeing none, can we have roll call?
You,
Yes.
Lettieri,
Yes.
Haney,
Yes.
DeLucre, Kane,
Yes.
Reardon,
Yes.
Sarah.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Resolution 2022-248, and this is a resolution by the City of Brigantine authorizing award of contract for planning, design, and inspection services for replacement of existing bulkheads at 20th Street, 28th Street, 30th Street, and bulkhead repairs at Laurel Way. This is to Doran Engineering in the amount of $32,400. Have a motion and second.
I'll make that motion.
Questions or comments?
This is a excellent resolution here, Mayor. John, I know the way that flooding is in that area there. Let's get the ball rolling on this, and particularly towards that south end a little bit more so. Near the dock, some neighbors have had some issues there over the years, so great to see. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm very happy to see this move forward. I know that we've been working, I don't know, 2 or 3 decades now on improving our flood resiliency here in Brigantine. I know that we lead the state when it comes to flood resiliency, so I'm very proud of the continual efforts that we have here in Brigantine. So if there's no further comments, can we have roll call?
You,
Yes.
Lettieri,
Yes.
Haney,
Yes.
DeLucre, Kane,
Yes.
Reardon,
Yes.
Sarah.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Resolution 2022-249, and this is a resolution by the City of Brigantine authorizing award of contract for structural engineering evaluation services for the existing lighthouse located at the 34th Street Circle. And this is to, how do you say that? Is it Beachit? Beachit Engineers at an amount of $16,200. Have a motion second.
So moved.
Questions or comments?
Is there any problems down?
Yeah, so the lighthouse is actually at the point where it just is in need of repairs. We want to get a structural engineer to come and take a look at it and make recommendations on what needs to be done. And this way, we'll have a better scope. And then they'll make recommendations, it'll come back to council, and then we'll make a decision how we proceed. Any other questions? Seeing none, can we have roll call?
You,
Yes.
Lettieri,
Yes.
Haney,
Yes.
DeLucre, Kane,
Yes.
Reardon,
Yes.
Sarah.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Resolution 2022-250, and this is a resolution authorizing a shared service agreement with the City of Brigantine and the Township of Merced River for quality purchasing services. We have a motion second. Will this create any conflict or issues for the City of Brigantine?
No, Mayor, it will not.
Okay, perfect. Questions or comments, council? Seeing none, can we have roll call?
You,
Yes.
Lettieri,
Yes.
Haney,
Yes.
DeLucre, Kane,
Yes.
Reardon,
Yes.
Sarah.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Resolution 2022-251, and this is a resolution by the City of Brigantine authorizing award of contract for valve replacement to water tower on Roosevelt Boulevard, and this is to J. Fletcher Kramer and Son, Inc. in the amount of $49,222.98. We have a motion second.
Second.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, can we have roll call?
You,
I just want to say the water tower looks fabulous. It's shining today, with the sun out, it really looks great. I'm going to vote yes.
Lettieri,
Yes.
Haney,
Yes.
DeLucre, Kane,
Yes.
Reardon,
Yes.
Sarah.
And I want to kind of echo Karen's comments. That water tower looks beautiful. I'm very proud of the work we're doing here. And it's important. You know, we need to make sure that we continue to invest and stay on top of our water. There's a lot of municipalities who don't. And what ends up happening is they don't invest in water. Major repairs, major things come up. They can't afford to keep it. They're then forced to sell them to for-profit companies. And typically those for-profit companies raise rates by 400% and 500%. So the investments that we're making in our water infrastructure make sure that we can keep our water prices under control. Last time we looked, Brigantine had the second lowest water rates in the county. So this is very good for us to continue that investment. So I vote yes.
Motion carries.
Next up, we have our consent agenda. We have the Holy Spirit High School raffle license number 987, Holy Spirit High School raffle license number 988, Clean Ocean Action 38th Annual Beach Sweep Request. We have a motion second.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, can we have roll call?
You,
Yes.
Lettieri?
Yes.
Hany?
Yes.
Delupri? Kane?
Yes.
Reardon?
Yes.
Mayor Sarah?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Next up, we have our council manager and committee discussions. Jim, you have anything for us?
Yes, Mayor, try and keep it brief. This is an update. South Jersey Gas, of the work they're going to be undertaking starting the second week of January. This is mainly for the Fourth Ward area. Starting probably January 9th, maybe the week after latest. We're going to have Bramble Drive paved, Harbor Beach Boulevard on the ocean side, from Brigantine Avenue to Ocean Drive. All of Ocean Drive South will be paved, Ocean Drive South, west will be paved. Also paving from Delmar Drive to Lagoon, to Harbor Beach Boulevard, on the inside, so Delmar and Ontario. They'll also be replacing mains back in that area during the time frame, so people may not see paving right away. They haven't gotten paving yet. Just finalized this afternoon. Deals with permit fees and gas fees and South Jersey gas. Also, one that's been going on our side for quite a while, Wayne Boulevard, that is going to be paved as part of this. The contractor at pre-construction meeting with us, they're well aware of our moratorium for Memorial Day, barring weather issues, extreme cold. Karen, before you ask, they have not forgotten about Bob Jones Sterling. That's on their next phase. Okay, thank you. Yes, ma'am. That's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you, Jim. Turn it over to our department heads. Anything for us? Thank you. Turn it over to our deputy mayor, Karen Beal.
First, I'd like to thank all you guys for checking on me while I was sitting in my den recuperating. Your checks and calls made it really helped. I want to tell you that one of my favorite events of the year in Brigantine is the Army Navy Day, where at the Elks, I always get tears in my eyes watching the Legion Riders and our fire department wheeling the final and veterans home residents in for a fun afternoon of bingo, food, and a football game. It's just such a wonderful, feel-good community day. That's always, I look forward to it every year, and I hobbled in, so I was glad I could get there. On Sunday, quite a few of us participated in the menorah lighting at Temple Beth Shalom. It was a beautiful celebration for the first night of Hanukkah, and I'd like to thank the congregation for including us in their festivities. And I would like to wish everyone happy holidays and a wonderful happy. Thank you.
Thank you. Go to Councilman Volunteer.
I would just like to thank everybody for their attendance tonight and wishing them happy holidays and happy and healthful New Year.
Go to Councilman Dennison.
Mayor, I'd just like to echo Karen's thoughts on the Navy game and the veterans being there, and also the menorah lighting. That was unable to make it to the Elks for the events this year, but so just a wonderful night. Just one public service announcement. Just want to make regarding the observed holidays for Christmas and New Year's being on Monday. All ACUA trash and recycling pickups throughout the county will be the same. So no change on that. Just wish everybody a very Merry Christmas, a happy and healthy New Year to all and their families. Thank you.
Down to Councilman Rick DeLuca.
Thank you. Extend as my fellow council members. Warmest Christmas and holiday greetings to everyone. Hope everyone has a wonderful holiday. Christmas, we saw tonight came a little early. Neil and I get to work with my bird. I need nothing else this year. And I'm gratified and happy to remind everyone, since the last time I was here, I'm sure I discussed it. Brigantine, in the space of last month, hosted your favorite service, the anti-hate event, and your leg at Karen Jackson's birthday. And this common theme for all of them, particularly the spiritual underpinnings of it. But these are all well-attended events and genuine feeling and genuine caring given by the people who spoke, people who attended, and they're kind of the greatest to model or to be the change you want to see in the world. And that speaks well of them, it speaks well of Brigantine, and it's just nice to see. But the most important spiritual presence, polar bear punch. Don't forget, how many of my fellow council people will be going in the water this year? Oh, good. Dennis been your hand. Oh, I do see the fence. Always a great event, and I'm sure others will be speaking more about that, telling you all about the event after party song. Again, great honor.
Just for the record, I missed last year's, last 4 years. The chance. Very much.
Thank you. We'll go down to Councilman Neil Kane.
Don't have a whole lot. You're going to cover quite a bit. So I just wish everybody Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. Have a blessed New Year. Stay safe.
Go to Councilman Mike Reardon.
Thank you, Mayor. Just want to thank, went out on this cold, chilly night, I know. Appreciate that. Working with different committees, both Arts Committee, the Economic Development for year, and now the Ed Committee with Bill. Also, as Rick mentioned, said the polar bear punch this year has moved from the front of Laguna down a block south towards Atlantic City in front of the lifeguard. So we'll be there. Be there at 10:30. Weather looks good. Costume contest, so come on down dressed. Participate in that. Good prizes. Those after parties afterwards. But yes, the polar bear punches down at the lifeguard station. That's so that Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. Here.
Thank you.
If you do have any problems, my number is on the bottom of my page.
I'm digging up my pipes tomorrow, Mike. Can you give me a hand?
We do have a lot of fun together up here. I appreciate it. First of all, I'd like to wish everybody a healthy and happy holiday season and a very happy new year. You know, we have a lot of things to be grateful for as things go forward. So make sure you spend time with your family and enjoy the important things in life. Give people an update. At our last meeting, when we had talked about the audit, one of the recommendations that we had made as a city is that we should hire an independent HR consultant to come in to take a look at some of the things the state did not look at to make some recommendations. Our CFO has let city manager and myself know that the RFP is ready. We're going to put it out in January with a return date of February 16th. A few people from the community have reached out to actually volunteer for that position. We forwarded that to the CFO. One of the things I would say is that, obviously people who have volunteered, some people are, very qualified for that position, but I think it's very important for the city to make sure that we put it out to public bid, that we take a look at people who bid on that. Anybody who volunteers, if they want to put in a bid, as we would, I just think it's important that we follow through the process and do that. So I know a few people who have volunteered. Our CFO will let them know how to go through the formal process of applying for that position. The roundhouse at 26th Street, that's at the baseball field. It's in need of some repairs. It's something we've been looking at for a while. There is some grant money that's available right now through the New Jersey DCA. There's a recreation grant. I know it's probably a short turnaround time, but it's something I know the city manager is working on to make sure that we get the information. We see if we can qualify for some funding for that. But that building is in some need of repairs. Any grant money we can bring in will help offset the cost of that. So that's something we're working on. The other thing I wanted to talk about too, I guess at the last council meeting, we had talked with Councilman Mike Reardon, who is the chair of the Economic Development Committee, to start working on a plan for some holiday decorations in the city. At the time, we start to upgrade those. I know we did some initial looks at costs. Costs are very expensive on that. Well, my understanding is somewhere between January and February, a lot of that stuff is sold at a discounted rate, so it's something we can look at too now. One of my concerns, and this is something I might try to address with the Chamber of Commerce, is I think one of the prohibiting factors is the cost of it. I think there's a request or a thought that if you're going to do the business districts, that you should do all three at once. My personal feeling, and I don't know how council feels about that, I think that is kind of the cost prohibitive issue, trying to do too much at once. But Mike, I wanted to see if you could talk with the Chamber of Commerce, let them know that we are looking to this. My personal thoughts is we should phase this in over time, phase this in a period of time, cost effective, so we can move forward. I don't want the city to be trapped by the cost, but I also don't want us to be in a position where we can't start to move forward. So I guess next chamber discuss with members of the board to get a sense of how they feel. I think the biggest issue is we don't want any of the business districts to feel like they're being excluded. We want to make sure that everybody's included and that people understand that we need to move forward. We're up for recommendations and ideas on where we should start, but I think it's important for the business community to be included in that discussion. Go ahead.
I can tell you that again. Point to officially see where we can find some money possibly.
It's perfect. Thank you, I appreciate that. And for my last thing for tonight, we've really put a big focus here in Brigantine on reinvesting money back into the city. And I think it's important for people to know what projects were completed in 2022. We are working on our project list for 2023, but right now these are the projects that are completed in 2022. I'll pass these to council members so you guys have it. I'll read them for people who are here as well. So these projects are completed. This is a report from our capital committee. For projects in 2022, we have the Cove Dredging Project at St. George's Lagoon, the skateboard park, tennis and pickleball court improvements, paving of Sheridan Boulevard from Varden Road to Saracen Road, paving of Revere Boulevard, 22nd Street, and the street ends at 34th and 35th Streets. And we installed drainage in the 300 block of 5th Street South. Brigantine Avenue streetscaping, 30th Street to 35th Street, new roof on City Hall, new roof of the Brigantine Rowing Club. Rehab painted water towers. We're working on all three, but the Roosevelt Tower is now completed. New pedestrian steps at Pepper Cove. Pepper Cove has become very, very popular with a lot of people. So Public Works actually went out and built new stairs to give better access for people down there. Reconstruction of the cart paths on the front 9 of the Brigantine Links, new stormwater pump stations at 34th Street, Jenkins Parkway, Hackney Place, East Evans Boulevard, and 6th Street North. And are the bocce courts finished? Mike said the bocce courts, are they, I know we did restorations to some. All right, so the bocce courts are complete. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. COVID slowed a lot of things down, but as we've kind of ended from COVID, one of the things we're doing is getting our projects up and running. Our capital improvement committee has been working hard. We're going to start to look at what are some major projects that we need to get moved forward as we go into the new year. Obviously, we'll bring that stuff back to council so you guys can know, we'll make recommendations on how we should move forward. As I said, one of the biggest challenges right now is there's a number of roads that need to be repaved, but it doesn't make sense to repave a road to then have to dig it up to replace the water lines. So we're working on that plan now, but any of the roads that we are going to repave are not going to have the water infrastructure underneath, so we can keep things moving forward. Okay, perfect. With that, I'm going to open it up to public comment. Anybody wishing to be heard from the public, please come up and state your name and address for the record. Yes, Mrs. Phillips.
Ann H. Phillips, 308 27th Street. Two comments. Number one, the windmills. I mentioned, I believe, at the last council meeting, the silence coming from Ventnor and Margate regarding this project. And I think on Monday, we found out why. Ventnor receives over $500,000 for a resilient grant from Ocean Wind Pro New Jersey Grantor Trust. So I think we know where they're coming from, unfortunately. That's my personal opinion, but it worked. And I believe Margate is also coming in for a lot of money. So that says something about those municipalities. The second concerns the performance audit by the state controller. Has the city made available to the state the corrective action plan, which is supposed to be done? Have you finished that?
I'll turn it over to the city manager.
The short answer is no. I did not get their format until last Wednesday. There's a very specific format that they have and require. And the report, the corrective action plan, if you will, is not due back to the state until March 1st.
Oh,
So
okay.
we are going to take our time working with labor council, the unions, mayor and council, to make sure that we hit everything the way we're supposed to before we send it back.
Okay, and when you do send it back, will it be available on the city website?
They will be publishing it, the state will. We don't typically publish things like that because it's state. I don't know what they're going to do with it. I don't know what their format is. Once they get it, if they're going to turn it into a report and print it. So we're not going to touch it until they release it.
I think
Okay, but if they do release it, that should be public, right?
well, yeah, it should be a public document. I was actually going to ask, I guess, once we respond and they release their, findings or release their follow-up, just to find out what the process is. If it's something we can share on the city website, we will. If it's something that's shared on the state, we can direct people there as well.
So we can, yes. Once we respond back to them with the corrective action plan, we won't hear from them again, probably until the summer of 2024. Due to the fact that we have collective bargaining agreements and other things that just quite simply can't be done immediately for months. So they will come back for a brief one-day audit in 2024, most likely. Review everything we put in our cap and see how we get to that. And that information will also be public.
Yeah.
So once it's all set, as far as this portion of it goes, I can we get a link to where the report and the corrective action plan is. You can post it on our website.
Yes, I think that's important. Also, they mentioned monitoring in that audit. So they will be doing monitoring on a regular basis. How does that work?
There is no prescribed time or monitoring. What they meant by monitoring is that follow-up audit
Yes.
that they're going to do. They're not going to be checking in on us every 6 months to see where we're at with our corrective action.
Are they going to audit in another year, 2024?
Yeah, in 2024, it will not be the same type of audit we just went through. It'll be a very quick one day to look at the items and recommendations they made, see where we're at with that in comparison to the corrective action plan.
The reason I mentioned monitoring, it's at the end of the audit report, and they do mention in a paragraph about monitoring. And so I wondered how they do that. Do they, after they get the plan, do they talk to you? Do they come down again to make sure that everything is being done?
Not until 2024. They do not come down right away as soon as you submit the plan to them, because in the plan, You tell them when certain things or when you expect certain things to be completed. You don't have hard caps or hard dates, as I said, because we have collective bargaining agreements and other policies and procedures that may change with his HR consultant. So it's not something that gets done immediately. So they give you a year, 2 years to come back and check. If they see deficiencies or something that's out of line in the corrective action plan, they may reach back out immediately and say, hey, listen, this isn't going to work. We have to fix this now, or you have to change this approach. But they're not doing anything immediately. It will not be for at least another year, possibly 2, before they come back and check.
Oh, I see. Okay, that wasn't made clear in the audit report. I mean, one of their comments. So, all right, thank you.
No, thank you. I had a question too about the, I guess, the corrective action plan. As we turn that into the state, I know we've already made a number of changes. Is that included in the, I guess, report to the state?
Yes, it will be. I provided probably 20 different documents to the state that prepared as part of our response document, our initial response. And they pulled that aside for us, and that will be included as backup documentation for our corrective action plan. So there's several steps, several recommendations already taken care of.
So I guess from the time of their findings, they give the city 90 days to put together a plan. We submit that, they review it. After that review, they then come back in 2 years to make sure that we followed through on what we said we would follow through on.
Correct.
All right, perfect. That makes sense. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
If there's no other public comment, we'll close the public portion. Any final council comments?
There is one. Earlier, and the anti-Haven Dr. Frank Kern speaking. I told him that I admired his time, and he spontaneously took it off and gave it to me. Insisted that I keep it, didn't take it back. So I told him I would wear it at the next council meeting. I'd like to reflect that I am wearing it tonight, and I would like to further reflect that I am very happy. I can say I admired his.
As I said, I love working with this council. I think we really get along well.
Good news to hear about the roundhouse too.
Yeah.
Quite good Bastian, I'm sure he's been up there coaching. It's good to see that's on the radar screen.
Absolutely. All right, so if there's no further comments, can we have a motion to adjourn? Second? All in favor? Aye. Aye. Any opposed? No? All right, so I'd like to thank everybody for joining us.